Give us an intro.
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody.
Well, anyways, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Table's done. If you haven't watched that video, you go check it out on one of these corners. And truck is halfway on. And I think we're about to actually put it on the chassis table and then remove the front suspension. Rear suspension is off, but let me put you guys on the tripod while we do this tomfoolery. Chassis is on the table, so now I have to work on actually leveling it and squaring it on the table. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to go about this quite yet. I'm kind of trying to figure out a game plan here, but I think I'm just going to start shooting measurements and kind of see where we're at, see how level the chassis is. So what's interesting is you can already start to see what's wrong with it. So if you guys remember, I built this tube K-member, and the reason I built the table was because I couldn't find center line of the chassis, because I couldn't plumb bob from these two bolts where I usually plumb bob from control arm bolts. So typically I plumb bob from control arm bolts to find my center point, at least at the front of the truck or vehicle. Control arm bolts are a very good spot to plumb bob down from. Now, this side I couldn't plumb bob because when I dropped the plumb bob, this bar is in the way, and this side it's not in the way. So that was when I realized that this K-member that I built was slightly off, and we can really see it here. So you see how this side right here is touching and over here is not. So I'll probably be redoing this K-member. You know, I'm going to try my best not to get myself in too much trouble while doing that. But for now, we're focused on the chassis. So I'm going to start, like I said, throwing out measurements and really just see what I need to do to actually get it level. Okay, so first things first, I have to actually make sure my table is still level. So I'm going to double check all of my table. Make sure this guy's still where I want it to be. So right now, the table is level, so I'm actually going to check. Let's check the truck, see how. So from what I'm seeing here, from side to side like this, it's really close. I think the front has to come up more than the back as of right now. I still need to elevate it because I want the chassis obviously to sit off of the table a little bit. Man, now I'm kind of regretting the height of this thing because I expected it to be about 2 feet off the ground, but after I leveled everything, you know, I raised it about probably 2 inches, so that puts us at like 26 inches, and then I'm probably gonna have the chassis like another 4 inches roughly off of the actual table. So keep that in mind. If you're building one, you can build it probably about 20 inches. So it's gonna be a little bit taller than I'd like, but it'll work and it's already built. So I have these jacks. If you ever watched me build the RX-7, Omar's RX-7, we used these to level it out because we didn't have a table at the time, but these are nice because I can adjust them and pretty much level out the chassis here. So a little backstory on these guys. One day we just went to U-Pool because we needed them. I thought I had like 6 of them, which I think I do, but 4 of them have these 19mm nuts welded on them, so I can turn them easily, and they all turn with the same tool. So now I have it on the jacks on all four corners so I can go around and level it. I pretty much have the chassis really close to level. It's within a half a degree, just like the table was. I've been messing with it for about 30 minutes and I'm not sure if I can get it any closer than within about 0.3. It's all under half a degree, but it's about 0.3 within. So now the next step is to actually square it to the table. Now the issue that I'm having to be able to square it is there's not really any solid place to be able to take measurements off of, and that's kind of where it's going to get a little bit tricky, but I'm pretty much just going to have to find even spots in the chassis that I can measure off of to make sure that it's actually square on the table. Right now it's level, but I'm going to have to move it, make it square, and then probably re-level it. Once it's square, then we can weld it. Okie dokie. Whew. This thing is as level as it's going to get. I've been messing with it for about an hour and a half now, and I'm not sure I can get any closer. So if we look at this level, you can see it's a hair to the left there. Way back there, we have 0.1 on that bar. Let's see what else we got here. Now I'm trying to check the levelness of these bars, or the frame, I guess, on the flattest area I could find, which seems to be this spot right there and this spot where this other guy is. So we turn that on. We have 0.2 or 0.2, 0.3. It's bouncing back and forth. Come here. 0.2 looks like we're good. Like I said, guys, I'm trying to stay within half a degree. I really tried to zero it, but it just won't zero. 0.3 here. 0.4. I think this is the furthest off we have. I don't know did I check that one? Yeah, I checked that side already. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked this. Let's see, what does this look like? 90.5. So this is 90 degrees. That's good. Let's see what this guy is. These were added when the back half on the truck got done. 90.7. I seriously don't think I'm going to get any closer than this. I shot the laser earlier. I took it down because I was smacking the chassis and I didn't. So what I did to move the chassis, if you saw me working with it, is I was smacking it with a sledge to move it back and forth. I also took a measurement from here to here. So I would just set my square up right here to grab that measurement, and I think it's 9 inches and 1/8. The other side is within a 32nd. I think it's a 32nd over. Same thing over here. This is like 5 7/8. That side is about a 32nd over. But I really just don't think it's going to get any closer than that. Like I said, if I move it a 32nd here, we'll probably lose it over there. This, that, and the third. I'm happy with where it is right now, so I'm gonna go find some scrap pieces. I think I have some of this 4-inch stuff left, so I can actually weld it to the table. Okay, so this is what I got. These are basically just drops that I had from all of this stuff. All of them were actually already cut except this one. I just had to cut one out. But anyways, I'm gonna weld these to the table and then weld the chassis to these. This is what we're looking like back here. This is temporary-ish. I mean, this, I don't really have any problem. I think these will hold everything just like I need. I'm getting ready to leave the shop right now though, so I'm putting these in, but I think before I actually dismount it from the jacks and everything and actually leave it be on its own, I'm probably gonna put some tube pieces, actual rope cage tubing that I have, some mild steel, that'll actually be underneath. So I don't know, just as extra precaution. I don't think it needs them. This is all 4x4 1/8 inch, same as the table. I think that should be sufficient, but just in case, I'll do that next time I'm in here. But for now, I got to get out of here, so I'm gonna weld these up real quick. Boom, there it is, guys. This thing is fully welded to the table. If I move it any one bit, it moves the whole table, which is exactly what we need. Leveled and squared as much as I possibly could. Like I said, I don't doubt these 4 posts, not for 1 second. I feel like I could release it now off of the jacks, but just as a safety measure, like I said earlier, I'm gonna add some underneath. That way it actually has something to sit on. Right now, it's not sitting on anything. All the weight is, I guess, on the welds. I don't think it matters. It's not a ton of weight. I don't know how much this all weighs, and I trust these quite a bit. I gotta go for now. I'll see you guys tomorrow when we finish actually putting it onto the table and probably making some new bars. But for now, if someone comes in the shop, you know, accidentally gives it a bump, it ain't going nowhere. It's staying right where it is. So let's get it, boys. Okie dokie, folks, we are back. It is the next day now, and the truck is officially in its position that it will live for the next few months, and hopefully not much longer than that. I really am excited to get moving quickly on this thing, as quickly as I humanly possibly can. So you guys saw me put these in last night, and then just now before I started talking to y'all, I put these guys in. This is more of a peace of mind kind of thing. I put them back here, just on all 4 corners. So I am about to release the jacks. Should it move? And if it does, then we're in trouble. But I'm gonna do that now, and it is officially mounted to the chassis table, which is very exciting. I am so glad I did this. I held it off for so long, like I explained when I built the thing. There were so many reasons I didn't want to do it, and now it's just, I haven't even worked on the truck, but just squaring it up on here, centering it up. You know, I made sure it was, I didn't even center it. I just made sure the distance was even on each end. And as soon as I shot the laser down the center line of the table, that's our center line of the chassis. So this thing is already going to just push the truck forward much, much faster, and really the floor structure, which is what I was having trouble making in the first place. But let's get these jacks off this thing. She better not move. Yeah, didn't even budge. You are stuck there, Mr. Fremolio. Next one. Yeah, this thing is officially stuck to the table. Man, this is cool. So jacks are off, and it's showtime. Now we can actually start working on the floor structure. Now, one of the issues when it was on the floor is I would just level it with air pressure, right? If this side was low, I'd air this tire up or take air out of that tire, or this, that, and the third. But the chassis is never in a fixed position, so it makes it very difficult. And I can already see a bunch of areas where we went wrong. Like, for example, this bar, you see that, how it's a little bit lower on this end? You know, last I remember, it was level when I built it on the floor, right? And another reason I had built it was because from this bar to that bar is a totally different measurement than what I get on that side. I think it's about 1/4 inch off. So that's another one of the things that has to be fixed. But for now, we're going to start with the number 1 bar in correcting it. Another thing about the number 1 bar is the more I look at this bend here, which is, you know, like to clear a drive shaft or whatnot. It seems very low, a lot lower than, and I've been noticing this since I built it, and it's pretty much at the height of this one. And I mean, I don't know exactly, but now that I have a table, I can shoot, you know, a level across here and actually take a measurement, and I'll know what height it's at. But something about it just makes me uncomfortable. The photos I've seen, they don't seem to be this steep. And you can tell I already have it leaned back quite some ways, but I might just go a hair more since it's looking like I might have to cut this bar out anyways. I might as well just do it now before, you know, we end up in a situation where I have to cut it. I already planned for this. Like, I'm allowed to cut it if I need to. I've seen photos of it done that way too, where they add the bend in afterwards. But I'd rather just avoid that altogether and probably raise it just a hair. Okay, so this is what we're working with here. First things first, I put these bars really close to where they should be. Damn, this laser's coming into the camera. Let me go shut it off, hold on. Oh, look, I made this, forgot to tell y'all about this one, but made these little plates here where I can chuck up the laser. Let's shut it off for now though. Anyways, these bars are pretty much where they need to go. You know, if not, they're super close. And we're checking them for levelness. And as you can see, this one's half a degree out and that one's a little bit less. Is this acceptable? Yeah, it's within a half a degree. So technically I could just send it, but this bar back here is not even welded in. Oh, I don't know why I'm zoomed in like this. This bar back here isn't welded in yet, so I can cut it out, move it down just a hair. That way I can get this level, and then I can move that back how I talked about earlier. Okay, so I have this bar cut out. Literally took me like not even a minute. So this is a prime example. Always put tacks where they can be cut out. It's way easier to weld most places than it is to fit a grinder. Now, if you're anything like me, I absolutely hate cutting out tacks. I hate doing it. I hate cutting out a bar that's already tacked in. It feels like you're working backwards all the time. But obviously it had to be done here. And thankfully, since I put tacks where they could be cut, previously it was easy to just pull this bar out and we can redo it and make it right how it has. So if you remember the first video, it's been so damn long now of building this chassis. This side has a notch all the way down on the frame. And on that side, we have just a hole where I was supposed to weld around. So this side is easy. I just got to scoot it down. We're good. That side, I got to grind it off. So I'm going to use this little Dremel here. I don't think it's a ton of metal that has to come out. And this thing is surprisingly, it eats a lot of metal. Okay, so I went ahead and test fitted this completely again and then took it out because this still needed a little bit more. The die grinder is cutting. It's a little bit slow. That's kind of why I used it, because I didn't want to go too far, but it's kind of taking forever. So I'm going to go to this guy. This guy goes onto the grinder. And with this, I just got to be a little more conscious of what I'm doing because it will eat metal quite a bit quicker. But I just got to haze it here a little bit just to drop this side down a hair more. So in order to check if this is correct, I'm pretty much just putting it all back together. It's not as difficult as I thought it was going to be, especially because this bar was already made and in place at some point. So a lot of the work's been done by me earlier in this project. Okay, so this is what we got. We have 0.2 on that back bar, and this one is 0.1. So we are getting closer every time, but we're not quite there yet. This is very acceptable, to be honest. I mean, it's so close. I'm not sure if this is even gonna matter, but I'm already here. So I may as well try and at least get these to zero out. Cerote. And 0.2. All right, fellas, this is where we stand. We have zeroed out that bar, and then this bar is close. It is 0.2 degrees off. Now, I either settle for 0.2 degrees off here, or I have a number 1 bar that is not perfectly level. So I'm going to go with a level number 1 bar, and then this one can be a hair out. And this bar has to be redone as well, so maybe I can fix this up here, but I don't think so because this one is measuring in at exactly 0, so I don't really want to move it too much more than I need to. So we'll leave all of this like this, and now I gotta tack this guy in. Well, re-tack this guy in. Whew, okay, so this is where we are. Got myself a Cletus video on, had to pause that real quick. But this center, or the number 1 bar, is now level. As you can see right, boom, right on the money. I had to cut a lot of this. As you can see how big this damn hole is. This is actually kind of crazy. And you can see how much further down it is now than it was before. And I'm not necessarily worried about this huge gaping hole because there will be a plate on the outside of this and a plate on the inside as well. So if you're doing something like this on an S10, make sure those plates are inside before you actually weld it all together. But let me sit down here real quick. Everything is where it needs to be. I have it squared up. So what I did was I took a measurement from in here on the bar to this hole. This is kind of the only place I can square it up to. I double checked. This hole is the exact same on the other side. I measured from here to this hole on that side. Everything matches up. So the first time I did this, I was measuring to here, but this is a weld, so this is not a very reliable place to grab a measurement from. And that's kind of the thing I don't like about the table. I mean, I really love having the chassis table. It's already made this project so much more enjoyable and easier. And this is something I knew was gonna happen because I talked to some people. I talked to my buddy Hayden Meticulous up in Colorado, and he told me whenever he built his table, his is out of 3/16. And he said that makes the corners on square tube really round. So you can't really pull a measurement off of them. This is 1/8 inch and they're still very round. I regret not having made this standoff here like square. That way I could actually pull measurements off of this. So I can't trust this enough to pull measurements off of it. Because for one, I just welded it in to hold this. I didn't square it up. I didn't do anything. It's just literally just welded in. But even if I had done that, I still can't pull a measurement off of this corner because of the roundness of it. I still have to put like a square on it. That's how I did some other things on the truck when I was actually welding it to the chassis. But anyways, right now we are squared from here to here on both sides. We are level. Our distance from here to here is identical on each end. So it is centered, and I am sure of that. I also have one of my scissor jacks down here pushing this up, and it's not much more, but it is more angled than it was, so it won't be as low now. Hopefully that doesn't get in the way of the drive shaft. I really don't think it will, because this is technically still higher, but if it is a problem in the future, I can more than likely it's something I can fix, and I'll have to make new tubes for it, but let's just hope that that's not what's gonna happen. Well then. Whew. Okay, so in typical fashion, first weld I tried to lay on this thing was a complete bust, so I had to take it all apart, re-clean everything, refit everything, and moral of the story, this bar kicked my ass to get it in, And I'm sure that's going to be the theme of this entire project. It's my first chassis I've ever built, or first 25X cage. So I don't expect the next bar or the bar after that or the 25 million bars after that to also kick my ass. But it's in, it's level, and I'm very happy with it. Now I am very confident it's actually level because we're on the table. So now we can actually start building off of this bar and squaring things off of this bar now that I know that it in itself is actually square. So now the other thing that was wrong with this is whenever I pulled a measurement from this bar to that bar and did the same on the passenger side, I was a 1/4 inch off. Now, to be fair, this bar itself, if I put a straight edge right on the top of it like this isn't long enough, right? But this is essentially the exact top of it. If I put a straight edge that went all the way across, this bar is bent more on each end, and it's a little bit more on one end than the other, but it's very close to being even. I think it's about a 1/16 to an 1/8 off. So that is something to consider when shooting this measurement, but it's also not at a complete 90. So it's probably where it sits, maybe a 1/16 off. So I shouldn't be more than a 1/16 off when I run this measurement. So let's check it out and see what it lands at now that I adjusted this end. And right to here, we have exactly 49 5/8. Whew. All right, folks. So last time I was in here, we leveled that bar, got it where it needs to be. It's good to go. Today, I just recently tacked in these two guys. They are level and ready to rock and roll. Tacked in, I always like to put 2 tacks. Remember, never tack where you can't grind, just in case. We never know if we'll have to cut these out. Now, the next step is to cut these bars that are sticking out. Obviously, I made these bars longer. I didn't want to, make them exact size and then something happened where they're too short or something funky like that. Left them a little bit long on each end. So here I have my cab width is 54.5. Total width on this side is 55.875. Did all my math. I will have a 1/8 inch plate that will weld to here, and then that plate will weld to the cab. So with everything, I gotta subtract that from each end. I think that's 13/16 if I'm not incorrect. And on this side, I have to subtract 3/4 from each end, and that is accounting for the 1/8 inch plate that will go here. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Probably gonna tack in the outer frame rails as well. I have to remake one of them. After I adjusted this, I think it's this side is too short. That bar was also a little bit weird. If you check here, I have a little bit bigger gap than I would like, but it was way worse than this. This is still something, it's gonna give me nice penetration right there. That's not hard to fill. But the bar that was supposed to go there, see, this is outer driver's side and it's on the inside. But I had to swap it in here because they were a little bit different. So that bar is a hair short, but I think I can make it work. I can split the difference on each end and have a nice little gap where I can weld around. This side, non-negotiable, way too short. So that bar is out of here. Gotta make a new one. God damn it. I don't know what that is on ruined bar count, but I think that's about... I haven't ruined anything yet. Luckily, I'm early in the project to where anything that doesn't work, I can use somewhere else. But that won't be the case for the entire project. Obviously, this piece can go anywhere else on the truck. At some point, I'll have use for it. All right, fellas, so I got a cool tip here for finding the center line of your tube. I just found this out midway through this project. So obviously I'm using an old piece here with a piece that's already cut. Ideally, you want to do this with 2 brand new sticks, and you'll have a center line for your whole piece. But You can see I have these guys hose clamped to one another here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna run this file all the way down both of these guys. And that's gonna give us a perfect center line. That's actually pretty cool. It's my first time doing this. All right, folks, inner frame rails tacked in, outer frame rails also tacked in. Got my boy Eddie in the house. So I'm gonna do a quick dry fit of the cab. This should technically be where it should end. Now, we'll see if my calculations is correct. Got a nice big strong man in here to help me lift this thing.
Damn right.
All right, so cab is on, boys. Look at this guy, first oil change. Yeah. Quería troca el chamaco.
Look at this thing, solid, baby.
All right, so my calculations were correct. In the back, if you look in there, there's a tiny gap between that bar and the actual cab. There's a tiny gap, which is exactly what I need because I'll have an 1/8 inch plate welded to this bar in there, and then that will weld to the cab. Now up here, different story. Didn't fit because I didn't anticipate this to land so far forward. And if you look at this, the cab comes in right here. It's terrible lighting, but it comes in and it's pretty much narrower up here. But I'm gonna run with it. I think I'm just gonna end up cutting this out, and then, you know, I'll weld this to here in some shape, way, or form, but that'll be in the future. For now, if you look at the outer frame rail, it fits all the way inside the cab. Same thing on this side. You know, that bar fits within the limitations of the cab, and it's pretty much as far out as we can possibly get it. So now we gotta take the cab back off.
Oh man. We gotta tie this bitch to one of those.
No, I don't need it in here. That's gonna do it for this video, folks. To watch part 2 of this, you can click here. Thank you all for watching. Se la lavan.